I got 9 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting in order and start the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Next is approval of today's agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I will second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Which carries. Next is approval of the minutes of 5/6 and 5/7.
Lance, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for May 6th, 2024 and May 7th, 2024.
I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Which carries. Now I have is approval of claims for payment of 5/13/2024.
Make a motion to approve the claims from 5/13/2024.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is consideration of approve appointment of the auditor's office to update policies and procedures.
Lance, I'd make a motion to approve the appointment of the auditor's office to update policies and procedures.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Let them go through it. They don't have to keep running back to us for every meeting to analyze everything. And if any changes need to be made, they'll bring it back to us.
Sounds good.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next is consideration to approve special class F retail alcohol license for Iowa Falls Moose Lodge.
I'll make a motion to approve the Class F retail alcohol license for the Outhouse Lodge. Moose Lodge.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yep, effective May 1st, 2024, expires April 30th, 2025.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now I have is consideration of approved appointment of Kara Butler to fill the remainder of Miley Carter's 3-year term on the County Board of Health.
I will make a motion to approve the appointment of Kara Butler to fill Miley Carter's term on the Board of Health.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next is consideration to approve the appointment of Dr. Waters as an additional medical examiner for Hardin County.
Lance, I'll make a motion to appoint Dr. Waters as an additional medical examiner for Hardin County.
And I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Question, who is he?
Doctor,
From the Owl Falls
Owl Falls.
Hospital, I believe.
Oh, okay.
we currently have Dr. O'Laughlin.
And he does traveling medicine.
Yep.
So he's not always in the county. So in this day and age, we've got 3 mediological death investigators. And then Dr. O'Laughlin, and adding Dr. Waters will just assist our EMS organizations and sheriff's office in the times when we need somebody in that role. So
Thomas, you want any more clarification? I know you reached out to him. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next is consideration to approve resolution 2024-14 naming depositories.
Make a motion to approve the resolution naming depositories as per Iowa Code Section 12C.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? They just added a few more to the bottom there for the Public Employees Health Plan Trust. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
BJ,
Aye.
Renee,
Aye.
Lance,
Aye. Motion carries. Next is consideration to approve Delta Vision group insurance policy.
I'll make a motion to approve the Delta Vision Group insurance policy.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is consideration to approve utility permit, Midland Power Co-op UT 24012.
Lance, I'd make a motion to approve UT 24-012.
I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
This is boring in new underground wires. We're replacing existing overhead at 18845 125th Street.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's see. That was change of status now.
I make a motion to approve the change of status for Christian Cooper. It's a pay increase as an anniversary date merit raise. To a salary rate of $32.19 as of May 27th, 2024.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
If this is just based on their union contract. Yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Other business. I got Taylor here. Oh, let's go, Michelle. You first.
I just have a comment, if anybody has any delinquent taxes, this week is the week to pay them. For a guaranteed date not to be in the paper. And if they don't pay them by the third Monday of June, we are having that annual tax sale. And this year it will be online, so it'll be not a live tax sale this year.
Okay.
Something new,
Okay.
not with the time.
Any other business? All right, Taylor.
Sweet. Right. I will try to muddle through this. I just kind of threw it together. I'll try to keep it concise. If you guys want a 14-hour seminar, Mark and Margaret are both here.
Is that what you want, gentlemen? Well, death by PowerPoint. Mark, you seem to be a PowerPoint kind of guy.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they can talk about it all day. So apparently we need to go over how things are done, not just here, but everywhere across the country. So I pulled some excerpts from both the federal highway and from the state of Iowa, how we pretty much, I don't want to say instruct people, but how the general consensus is to maintain gravel roads. So here this is the federal highways, and it kind of mentions under 250 vehicles per day. And that is essentially every gravel road we have. I think we have one at 220. I think that's our highest. So, yeah, but most are under 100, under 50. So this is the general thing. When I showed the crew was at my office for an insurance meeting this morning. When I showed it to them, they all laughed. I was the consensus that nobody had a 20-foot road. They're all much wider, much. Yeah. When the regrade crew comes by, we have them aim at 28. Cause I agree too, like, you feel a lot more comfortable the wider the road is, but you do that, that's more rock to maintain. You know, it takes a lot more to put down. The motor graders aren't that wide. We do let guys put on extensions up to 18 foot. 16. You go to 16? Yeah. So
something around 18.
yeah, so everybody's kind of different. But yeah, the wider the road is, then they can't do it in one pass. It takes a couple passes, so it takes more work. So, but I kind of went off this because this is what the federal and the state both says. This is the minimum required, by the way. The state does have more, the wider the road, or like the more people, the more ADT, the wider the road has to be, kind of stuff like that. So this is the general number I use. So you can see right there, that's 5 inches if you do that math, because we aim for a 4% crown. Paved roads are 2%. Gravel is 4% for your crown. So that would be a 5-inch difference from the edge of the road to there. So the question was asked last week, why can't we create the crown with rock? So I did the math. It's kind of there in a big equation for everybody, but that adds up to $27 million. And it's a pretty big number for my budget. We get about $6 to $7 million a year, which has to be spent. I'll show that on another slide. So that's a big number, and you know, that rock wears down year after year. I mean, there's some roads we put rock on every year because it disappears just like that. So then I did the math, because is that fair to add 5 inches to the edge of the road? So most of our roads become flat day after day because of truck traffic all day, every day. And when you drive in a gravel road, do you drive off on the side? No, most people drive in the middle. So that's where your surface gets worn the most. So I assume flat roads because most of our roads seem to get pretty flat unless they're out there continually doing their job day after day. So the map to that is still $13 million. Still unobtainable. We spend, so here is kind of my breakdown. You can see the revenues, and then I just kind of took out some of the things that we have to do every year. We have to pay salaries, we have to pay utilities, we have to work on bridges, we have to work on our paved roads, snow, signs, fuel, tires, blades. And I think the last one is by the little picture there. I can cover that up. So that's how much we spend on rock every year. I mean, typically over $1 million every year. You can see the year of the big flood, it's split between 2 fiscal years. That was a big jump. So, yeah, we put a lot down. It's hard to say that we don't. All right. So doing that math, it would take about 11 years to do with our current, approx spending. I think I did $1.25 million was my math on this. So it would take us 11 years, and that assumes that the rock is still there after year 11. We all know realistically, how long does it last, Marty?
2 years at the moment. If it's heavy travel, like you said, it's every year we're putting rock on it.
Is it gonna last 11 years? No. So I did the math. If we got rid of all but one employee in a bucket, he could get it done in 1.5 years, but then we don't have money for anything else. We aren't moving snow, we aren't putting up signs, we aren't fixing bridges. So does that seem realistic? It does not. So our approach is to properly maintain the budget. That is my job. That is not those two's job. That is me to manage my budget. And you guys oversee me as well. So then we're gonna utilize our local workforce, and we're gonna hope the weather cooperates, because that is the one thing that nobody in this room or outside can control, no matter what they tell you. This is a common engineer joke. What are the 3 most important things in building and maintaining roads? Drainage, drainage, and drainage. That is all we do. That is why a road has a crown, is so that water can run off into the ditch. That's my last thing. That is why ditches are there in the first place, is to move water. That is the entire purpose. And then right above it, why is it necessary? We got to maintain that crown, and we got to cut down those ever-growing shoulders. I was just asking those guys today, and Marty says he could do it every year. He could cut that shoulder every year if he's got the time. It's not a every couple of years thing, it's constant. And they also mentioned, obviously, do you want it to be a 1 inch, or the longer you wait, the higher it's gonna get? That makes sense. So here, this is from the federal highway, and I'll read out the things that I bolded. This is a big long quote, but it mentions the dramatic change in vehicles and equipment. Tire pressures have increased to accommodate an ever-expanding fleet of commercial trucks and agriculture equipment, increasing in size, weight, and horsepower. We just did that in Iowa as well. They can go up to 90,000 tons now with the purchase of a $500 permit. I don't know.
90,000 pounds.
Sorry, did I say tons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
180,000 pounds.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you are a truck driver, $500 to haul an extra 10,000 every trip, that's a
That's a
no.
huge return on
Yes,
investment.
that is a no brainer. And this is forced by the state. It hasn't officially been forced. I think it's forced at the beginning of next fiscal year. So some counties have jumped all on board, some are waiting until that moment. We were kind of halfway in the middle. We have some highways that can't because of the bridges. So if you pull up the map on the DOT, all of our bridges that are not, they're little red circles. And it is up to the responsibility of the trucker to know his route. And you guys have seen my bridges over the years, that if they don't respect the weight, those bridges plummet. So I'm sure they're going over them overweight. How do you police that? Motor vehicles, the only ones with that capability, and yeah. But most engineers are more concerned about our roads than our bridges with this increased weight, and I get it, because there's a lot more roads than there are bridges, so.
So clarify, when you say motor vehicles, you're talking DOT, not sheriff.
Correct, motor vehicle enforcement, yeah, which are now all state patrols, correct, yep. So then another one, I'll read the bold part again. Gravel roads are quite different. Many of them were not constructed with the same attention to design and quality control during construction. In addition, gravel roads can easily rut or form potholes in periods of prolonged wet weather. During periods of dry weather, traffic tends to displace gravel from the surface to the shoulder area and even to the ditch. So what that tells you, it can't be too wet, can't be too dry. There's no winning, in other words, so it's a constant struggle. And again, our primary goal is to keep water away from the roadway. Standing water any place within the cross section, including the ditch, is one of the major reasons for distress and failure of a road. Gravel roads can fail when exposed to heavy loads, even when shaped properly. And maintenance operators must constantly focus on maintaining the proper crown and shape. We'll all admit that some are better than others. Marty's here today because we feel like he's one of our better ones. Mark, I don't like to say, when I worked in the Mariah County, he was a good one, but he doesn't need to know that. He's pretty good. Together, these two have trained a lot of our new guys. So I feel like they're both pretty good.
So we do have a mentor program still in place, yeah, even after
Yeah.
Clem, was it Clem that was the
Absolutely.
Yep,
grader trainer before? Okay.
yep. Yeah, we did not just hand you the keys to the motor grader day one and say, go, it's kind of that way because you have to drive it, but you aren't out there alone, just.
Right.
Have a
One
good first
machine that
day.
needs a buddy seat in it doesn't have it.
Correct, yeah, Mark
It
always
would be
said, that.
nice.
Yeah, some of those cabs might be big enough, Mark.
I don't think so.
So this is the cover of the federal highway, so I just kind of grabbed some pages. It's gonna be hard to read from here, but you guys can look through this at your leisure if you want. Just kind of mentions like some of the different things that we have to do, like this, this is where those last lines I got, they're from these paragraphs. And then we kind of get into the routine things they need to work on. That picture on the right, that is an example. You can see the angle of that. Those ruts, that is caused from a motor grader going too fast. Because that is the angle that the motor grader was moving. That picture in the bottom right is somebody actually cleaning the ditch to restore the shape. Then it kind of talks about the angle of the mold board and the correct way to do it, because sometimes you're not moving the rock the way you should, and it's not actually falling off that blade how you want it to. Because that is the whole purpose of the motor grader being out there, is to, because that rock is always continually pushed towards the edge. And then they usually keep a windrow as well, that we get into that later. And then they're bringing that rock from the edge back to the middle, because we've all been on gravel roads and right there in the middle, it looks like a nice smooth surface. And that's pretty nice until it rains. Then it kind of goes into the stability and articulation. Sometimes you guys will see that. You'll see that the motor grader and the front end's way over here and the back end is off to the side. And they do that mainly for the weight distribution, because if you're working too close to the edge and your weight gets over there, you're gonna be climbing out of the ditch. So they have pretty good power about that. And do you use that for going around intersections sometimes too, Marty?
I keep my straight on that.
Okay, some guys do that, I believe, right? Yeah, so it's kind of everybody's preference, you know, they operate it and they figure out what they like and don't like. There's a picture of a windrow. So that just kind of a maintenance thing they do. They try to keep that all year and then we get rid of it towards winter because you don't want to hit that when it's frozen. But that just kind of helps them keep that going all year round because they don't have enough rock to work with. We all know that. And then right there on the right side of the page, that is our most important thing, is to keep the crown on the road. Otherwise, you're gonna have little potholes like in that picture. We want the water as far away from the middle of the road as possible. Another example on the right there, Marty knew exactly what the cause was. It was parabolic crown. We have that sometimes too. We want it to be a nice straight cut at the top of that road. And that is caused, Marty said right away, well, you gotta keep better track of your blades. And there it is right there. The next page was talking about how they need to keep a nice sharp edge on their blade. Otherwise, that's what causes that. Then we get into the road shoulder. And this is the part where complaints came, because this is the time of year to do it. We've had that discussion. You can't do it all year. You need to do it early in the spring before the grass gets too tall. Otherwise, those clumps are gonna be huge. You know, it's gonna stick together. So this is the time of year to do it. And right there on the right, high shoulders, secondary ditches. That is the last thing we want, is to have a ditch before the ditch, because then that water is never getting off the road. You're gonna have a nice sloppy spot right on the end. I don't want to speak ill of anybody, but before I got here, they had a bit too much of that. And we had them go cut a lot of shoulders there that first year. That was also pretty messy, but we thought it needed to be done, because if you have a 5-inch shoulder before it can get to the ditch, it's never gonna get there without soaking through. So that is something that has to continually be done. So that's why right there on the right, it says, and this is from the federal highway, reshaping the surface and the shoulder. Reshaping the entire cross section. These are things that need to be done continually to keep our road the shape we want it and to keep the water off the road. So there on the right, this is another common thing, washboarding. Everybody knows what washboarding is. Trying to remember what page it talks about it. Okay, it's on the next page, but they talk about the cause of washboarding. Typically it's lack of moisture, acceleration, aggressive braking, and poor quality of gravel. Because everybody you know in the world doesn't slow down until time to slow down, so I can whip it around that curve. And generally, you know, a lot of trucks, they're pretty heavy, so as they slam on their brakes to turn, kind of drags that rock around and creates the washboarding. A lot of people think it is the motor grader, but you'll remember from that first picture, when you see it angled, that's when you know it's from the motor grader going too fast. When it's a straight angle like that, it's typically caused from traffic. So then that is a picture of how you deal with those. You can't just blade rock into those because it's so dry that it's not gonna do anything. You have to actually dig down approximately an inch or more. Sometimes we don't have a water truck anymore, do we? I don't think we do. No, we don't have a water truck anymore, but sometimes you can wet it down and then do this. It'd be nice, but again, we don't have a water truck anymore. And I don't know, I wouldn't have done it in the first place, but sometimes it's best just to wait for a wet week and get out there and fix them. Intersections, they blade intersections differently depending on how they're controlled. And then the one on the right is how they deal with paved roads, which obviously that's just like the one in the top left. Just something they do to help people maintain that feel in your car, otherwise we don't want you to lose control. Bridge approaches, they have to flatten their crown out to match whatever is there. And then super elevations at curves. People probably will notice it more on paved roads because, you know, some of those curves you can go around at 45, 50 miles an hour. Your crown does not maintain on curves. We transition out into something called a super elevation. So all the water flows from one side to the inside of the curve. A lot of that depends on the speed and how you want the driver to feel. I don't know. I took a whole engineering class on it. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on that.
About driveways.
Might be the next slide, Lance.
Yep.
Look at that, driveways and railroad crossings. Driveways, we do not like that first picture. Typically, that still happens if the field is higher than the road because their rock is continually running down into our road. And that's gravity. We can also go into a long list and lesson about gravity if we need. So generally, what we're trying to do is the bottom right picture, we want to have our road maintained perfectly and have the driveway off to the side. That's a constant struggle as well. Soft and weak subgrades. So this is the one thing that the motor graders can't control. But you saw those other slides, like people can say whatever they want about our motor grader operators. They have a lot to think about the entire time they're out there. It is not an easy job. There's a lot to it. The soft and weak subgrade, again, this is another problem. I think some counties have it worse than us, but it is something that they can't change. We can try to change it. The new thing is to use this fabric where you would lay a little fabric that kind of would filter the water and get it out. That's kind of the purpose of it, to just kind of make your subbase stronger. It's very expensive over the long run. I mean, you can do short stretches, isn't too bad, but I mean, to do a whole mile is a lot. So it's a new option that's going around and some are trying it. You can see that bottom right picture is what the one road looked like after 12 years. The top picture is right after it was done. So if you have a road with a lot of frost boils, that would be a good one to do it on. I can't say we have a lot of those. Our frost boils tend to be like, there's a few there and a few there and a few there. If you have a road with 6 or 7, this would probably be something we'd explore. Shouldering discs. So this is what was done on 290th Street and a bunch of roads in the last couple of weeks. We have 2 of them in the county. Marty is one of the guys that uses it all the time. He goes and he does it along the highways all the time. Essentially what they do is that little disc goes down there and it's beating all that stuff up. That disc makes it, you know, it kind of looks like you can see it in that second picture on the left. Brings it back like that. And obviously the more there is to cut, the bigger that pile is going to be. And it drags it right back up onto the road and then we let that dry out. As you can kind of see on the right, they're kind of hard to see. But he's kind of moving that back into the middle. You got to let it dry out. You got to let a little bit of that grass die again. This just kind of explains how they cut their edges to keep them sharp. We have some carbide blades. Not every guy has it yet, correct, Mark? Half the crew?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, we've been buying one or two. They're very, very expensive. And then they take them off in the winter, but they're supposed to last a couple of years. Who's had them long? Does Jason have them long?
Jason's had them for 3 years.
For 3 years and they're still straight, working good. So we've been slowly buying those. They've been very well regarded by a lot of the other Iowa County engineers, so we think it's a good investment. And again, we take them off in the winter because there's no purpose in beating them up. Then this is something published by the Iowa LTAP, which is our local technical assistance program. And that's put together also with the Roads and Street Maintenance Supervisors Association, which would be like the Marks and the Gregs. All of them get together, kind of like I do with engineers. And they came up with this little handout, and then I took a few pages from that. Again, it kind of talks about the crown and what you're trying to attain. Talks about all the different parts of the motor grader, their different angles. Again, it has the kind of the same pictures with what you're trying to do. So right there on the bottom left, you can see how they want the rock to be flowing through that. They don't just want to pick it up in a bunch like on the bottom right. So then there's multiple ways they can work on a road. A nice common one is the 2-pass system. That's what you do. If you got a nice road, you drive down the right side of the road, you drive down the left side of the road, that road's done. 4 happens quite a bit. It goes into that on the next page. And 3 is something that gets done quite often when they need to. The one disadvantage is you have to drive against traffic when you do it, but it does happen. How many times a year do you think you do that on all your roads? A lot. Okay, so a lot. It needs done when it needs done. So this is kind of a general, I believe this is just the 2-pass. This goes on all 4. So it kind of says what they're doing. There in the bottom left, you can see what they're doing. The first pass and the second pass, you're more towards the edge of the road, working on bringing that outside material in. And then your third and your fourth, you're kind of cleaning it up and your blade hangs over the middle. It kind of goes into the description of what they're doing on each pass, and then the bottom right is your 2-pass method, which that's the most convenient, but it's usually not convenient. Then here we are again on reclaiming material and shoulder maintenance. My eyes aren't good enough to read that completely anymore, but again, we've kind of been over that. The whole purpose is to take out that shoulder so that the water can get off. Again, you gotta wait on weather. If it rains, yeah, it sucks, but that's every road that it gets sucks. Pretty soon I got a picture. All right, then we got our next problem. Is it illegal to enter an area marked off by a road close sign? Yes, it is very illegal. The penalty, and there's your Iowa code 321.256 tells you do not do that. In 2016, Dallas County had enforced this multiple times at a rate of $200 per violation. It is a law to protect you. I mean, if you're up there, Lance had this conversation with me, maybe somebody's lying on the road dead, and then you're down there in the middle of that. Maybe you get a little too close to what they're trying to do and we end up hitting you. We don't want that either. We don't want you to cause a additional accident because you're not looking where you should be when you're driving. You see a road closed sign, please respect that. So this is the accident on 290th. Last Monday while we were here, this happened. Thomas is here, perfect. So Thomas was out there taking these pictures. As you can see on the right, so the man in the blue there is standing where the edge of the road is. It doesn't look like that because the shoulders were cut, but it is a clear drop off from that point sloping down. And the semi was passing a motor grader and went too far over. And that's the result. Not a fun time. But as you can see, this is the road that was complained about last Monday. And in that picture, I'd say it looks like a pretty normal road. It was approximately 1 week after we reclaimed the shoulders. So a week of having a road that was being worked on isn't too bad. I asked you guys last week, what's the most convenient time you have your road worked on? Never. But that's our job. And if you want your roads maintained properly, you're gonna have to put up with it from time to time. Nobody likes when the one bridge you drive down is closed either, but when it's done, you should have a road or a bridge for the next 80 to 100 years. So it's just kind of part of life. We've all been on road trips across the country where, you know, you run into road construction and that's just part of life. I'm sorry that it inconveniences some people, but that's the reality of our jobs. Nobody's ever happy with us. Oh, well, you know, I get paid to get yelled at all day, that's fine. But you guys got any questions for us? I mean, these two got quite a bit of experience too.
Gentlemen, how do soil types impact, you know, greater operations? Because it seems, you know, in my area, it goes from really sandy to river rock to, so it's just continual adjustment minute by
Every road's
minute.
different. I mean, every single road is different.
Yeah,
You blade it different, you put different material on it, you know, we got roadstone right now that has a lot of fines in it. You know, he's talking about putting rock on the road. Well, it's not just rock, it's fines too. You know, if we could put clean rock on every mile, it'd make a huge difference. But that's not.
You also need both because they mold
Right.
together. If you had just, like I had that picture of the 5 inches of rock, that would be very loose. I mean,
right.
we all know, I mean, if you guys remember being kids, riding your bike on a gravel road, if they just put rock down, I'm guessing you're not going through it, you're falling down and going to your mom crying with a skinned knee. But, yeah,
So we depend on our quarries to give us the best combination of clean with just the right amount of fines and the right size aggregate then. And that aggregate's dependent on the road as well then. Some roads, do you guys vary the aggregate then?
We usually put 300 tons a mile, don't we? On just about everything, cause it's. It fixes the road usually. And we don't usually like to put less than that
Okay,
per mile on the road, and that's county-wide.
okay,
our biggest struggle with rock is to get the prices we want. We have to buy it in bulk.
mhm,
So it's kind of hard. We do let them, if you got a road that you want to put something different down, that's fine. But I mean, it's kind of hard to half and half. To get the prices we want, we have to buy a bulk of what we need.
right,
And I can't remember if I mentioned last week, the 2019 year, we bought a lot of clean rock. We bought so much clean rock, they cut us off
right,
and said, we can't make that much for you, like. And it costs about double, because back then I think rock was $7.15 a ton. And the clean rock, we were paying $14 a ton.
yep,
And we hauled a lot, and I mean, a lot of that got reimbursed by FEMA. That's why,
yeah.
We were
I mean,
comfortable enough to do
we
that.
hauled a lot ourselves and we did some contract hauling too.
correct, that summer we did. do
Yeah.
contract. Yeah, and that was about 650 grand.
Right.
Yep.
My second question, so in last week's accident. Did the semi driver attempt to pass the grader on the right hand side?
Was it on the right? I just know he attempted to pass.
It was one of those where the operator was going against traffic,
Okay,
so he had to pat, I mean,
okay,
Okay.
he's
all right,
going,
I'm just trying to get my orientation
yeah,
there.
no, he's going.
Okay.
The operator is running that road. Opposed to traffic is the way I can.
And the driver admitted.
Oh, yeah,
His
well,
fault.
and if you go back to that picture,
Oh,
part of
thanks,
that
Tom.
is the misconception of that roadway. So, I actually called Taylor from there and I said, this is a 70 mile an hour road to me. It was in good shape. But when you look at that picture, there was a clear 24 foot of graded surface. The problem is that those tracks are outside the 24 foot. Pushed down and moved out, and that road's probably almost 30 feet wide. It's a misconception of what that road looks like on the what the road surface is out there on the edge. And with it being damp like it was last week, it was extremely soft and a full load of grain. On that outside edge. So, yeah, there was clearly a 24 foot bladed path. And he was passing on that side because they're going to get traffic, so they're laid that way.
And again, with 90,000 pounds, it's only gonna get worse.
Yes.
So,
Well. where
you know
that-
how it is when the state house passes something, we all go, okay.
Yeah,
More.
And where was that with the road grader and the truck? There's not enough room, so where were they supposed to go?
You stop and wait. When you see something with a flashing light in front of you, But yes, you wait.
There's no place to wait there.
Behind them.
Marty, typically when somebody comes up behind you, what do?
Pull over to the side and make room.
You
You
can
can have
see-
to wait a little bit till I see him. He just,
Was following.
he
the
didn't
grader?
see him.
No, he met,
Oh, that
this,
was stupid.
this one he met, I believe, is going against, but you can see right there in the right picture, you can see how close I asked the operator about this, he's like, I was that close to the intersection. He was just gonna go up to the intersection, stop, you can see that green sign for the intersection right there, so he was that close.
So we met him, he wasn't behind him?
Correct?
There's not a
Oh, he was
difference.
behind,
There's
okay.
not a
That's what I thought, he came up behind him.
So yeah, you're behind him. They got those nice signs that say stay back 50 feet,
Yep.
a flashing light,
That's an intersection.
so that was his reasoning, there's a guy behind me, but I'm that close to the intersection.
Yeah.
He can sit behind me for 25 seconds.
There's a gullyway
Yep.
on each side of the road.
So,
Oh,
There's
you
a
mean right there,
gullyway
but it's
that's
Okay.
about 8 inches on one
Hey,
side,
Hey, Colleen,
one
Colleen,
and about 6 on the other.
yes, question, it's still his presentation. Yeah, I'm not at public comments.
I'm entertaining your guys' questions still.
No, I appreciate, I mean, got a lot of insight and, I appreciate the knowledge set that it takes to do that skill set. I mean, it's, a very dynamic situation with the weather, with the soil types, with traffic, and so, the least we can do is respect the equipment while we're out there then.
Yep. And
Because
those,
the last thing that Marty really wants to worry about is a situation like this.
correct.
For anybody.
Or, yeah.
Well, you got everybody here. The question we always get in the winter time, we move a lot of snow, but we end up with a lot of rock in the ditches.
Mhm. Which one do you want to happen? So this winter was bad because, we had to move snow before the ground was frozen. So like I said, in my own driveway, I got a lot of rock everywhere in the grass because that stuff wasn't cut down when we had to move snow. The alternative would have been we could drive with our blades 3-4 inches up in the air, but then you're not moving the snow.
Does it help when pickups come down with snowplow blades?
I
Absolutely not.
like the rhetorical question. Yeah, exactly.
They usually throw more in the ditch than we do because they're setting on the ground. Ours are at least held up hydraulically, and there's a right down on the ground and it's bad. And you don't know it when you're doing it in a pickup.
Or they even loosening it up and then you guys end up pushing it around.
But to the hog sites, I mean, they gotta do what they have to do.
Right.
When
Yeah, we get
you
it.
get 2-day blizzards and we're not going out there, they gotta feed the hogs, they gotta go do something. So, I mean,
It's a public road. Anybody can use it. And yeah, we try to save as much rock as we can, but that's how it goes. And that's something the reclaimer does. It does bring some of that rock back if it can reach it.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Taylor.
You bet.
Can you make this available for
No
Elaine
problem.
and?
No problem.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Is there any other business? Now I'll go to public comment. Roger, did you sign up too?
No, I didn't.
I got
realize I
Pauline.
needed to. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Pauline, come on up. You signed up. Roger, go ahead and sign up.
The problem that we have on 290th Street is whoever did it, I don't think you did it before, the guy that did it before, because you've been grading a little bit better and trying to make it better. But the first guy that did it came out way, way too far. You've got about 8 inch. No, more than that. You've got at least a foot, if not more than that, in some places on the right-hand side. And before you get to our driveway, or I should say our dead-end road, W Avenue, you're in the ditch. You are literally in the ditch. Cause it's level, it's all straight there, because that ditch has not been dug out. And that's all soft there. So nobody's gonna drive it. So literally with the hill coming up, people drive in the middle of the road because everybody knows that that's soft. And right now, you are driving more than in the middle of the road because that is so soft over there. And on the other side of the road, you've got probably a foot. And what's with the brim that was made up. And you can't drive anywhere close over there because now with the rain, there's a gully there. And that's soft. Even till today, it's still soft. In my opinion, 290th Street was wrecked. We had the rock there. You can cut, I've talked to other counties, Butler, Grundy, Bremer. I'm trying to think of the ones who went. Butler, Grundy, Bremer, and Chickasaw. I all looked at their roads. They make a small crown that you can see. It's small, but it's in the middle of the road because they know people drive in the middle of the road and they know eventually the rock is going to get spread out. But when they go across or on the sides, they do scrape the sides. But then they leave that there on the sides and leave it there. They don't scrape all the roads, but I mean, you know, they go here and there, only so many. But you make you have to make so the rain can, you know, wash off on the sides of the road. And their roads all look good. Why in the heck, when 290th Street was looking good with the rock, why in the heck would you decide to destroy it? We're not gonna get that rock
Colleen.
back.
Colleen back here.
We're not going to get, I mean, it's not going to be the same. It is totally, I mean, nobody's going to, that lives on there or that travels on there. We all know that. We're never gonna take the chance of ever getting too close. And now, like when we meet people that we know that travel on that road, half of us stop and wait till the other one goes. Because we're not trusting it. You can't trust it. And as far as you said to grade that the bridges and that, it's not there. Well, I understand why it's not there right now. But I mean, that's not always true on how it's done. And I'm just surprised at why Hardin County is doing it differently. And all of those counties have decent roads.
I don't think our roads are terrible, guys, just,
No, I don't.
and I live on them, so
No,
also.
I do not think that they're terrible, but I do think that, whatever you did with 290th Street, I would not recommend that to be done with any other
And
street.
sometimes it's ugly before it gets better.
I understand that, but when I described the machine that was used,
Which is the same one you just described in the presentation and the
Right.
purpose behind it.
The same one you described. I only spoke to 2 counties about that. They said they don't use that. They said they use that for when they have ice. And they go out and to chop up the ice or the mud. They do not use that type of machine, what I described to them. They do not use it.
Well, I'm
Can I offer a rebuttal?
Go ahead.
So Pauline, I have to trust the guy with the 4-year degree in engineering. I have to trust the men on our teams that have years of heavy equipment use that have been doing this. Mark, how long have you been doing this?
Since I was 18 years old, I'm 43.
I have the utmost respect for the guys out doing the job. And it's different. I drove up in Bremer County and they haven't had the rain that we have. They have different soil types. They have different uses for their gravel roads. You get to some counties, they don't have livestock operations like we do. So the use and abuse varies from place to place. But you know, I just think that it's a matter of, we have to trust the process. Like you, Lance, I travel the gravel roads enough to know that it's not going to be perfect, but living in rural areas, I just got accustomed to, it's a gravel road. I don't have paved roads. I would think if we had lots of problems, we'd have our first responders saying, hey, these gravel roads are impassable for fire trucks, ambulances, law enforcement. And I've never got those. If anything, I think they're in good shape when I was working as a first responder in the county. So I don't want to diminish your concerns, but I think this is an isolated incident that's a matter of personal opinion, not of educated response or of years of experience that the guys on our team have. So
Well, I think
leave it-
my husband has had plenty of years of experience
But
too.
things-
He did this as a teenager.
Right, but I
And
think,
he's done it all his life too.
when was the
Done it
last time?
4 years, Mark has.
But when was the last time he was in a grader? And did this operation?
In 1995.
Okay, so
The equipment's probably.
equipment and,
changed.
and everything that Taylor described in his presentation, the size of vehicles, the amount of vehicles, the weight of vehicles, in 30 years, things change. So I'm not gonna discount your husband's work and his knowledge, but things have changed. We've had a couple,
Much.
Mark, have they changed
The
in
weight-
your short
The
time?
weight has
Big time.
changed.
Yeah,
Everything's changed.
The biggest one is tire pressure increase.
right. So I'm gonna leave it at that,
I agree.
Lance. I know
Okay.
Roger's one of.
Yep, I got another public comment coming up.
Lance, one more thing, because you did ask me about the rock that was already put down the road. You were concerned that we had already rocked the rock program, and my answer was no.
Right.
It is on the rock program this year, that's why you do this before, and that gets. That rock was spot rock, Marty's entitled to get some spot rock too, they all have areas where it's black mud. We wanna cover those up with rock, that's where that came from.
So the rock program has not been done, so on top of all this, after you get your crown in, you're gonna turn around and,
The rock, correct, it is on the.
which is 300 ton per
Yep,
mile.
it's also on our short list to get regraded, but.
Yeah.
All the motor graders fight for their roads to get regraded, so. Marty, how many you want to get done? Don't answer.
All right, Pauline, I gotta let the next person.
Rock, so then our road will be rocked then again, or I shouldn't say our road, but then that road will be rocked again.
Correct.
Okay,
Trust it.
all right,
All right,
thank you.
Roger.
I have something after Roger too.
So I think there's a reason why I'm here this morning. And I'm surprised we haven't had this conversation as a bus driver and now a firefighter out of Steamboat Rock. And we just responded to Paul Water to help Cleves fight a fire or Ackley, east of Cleves on a road that I remember a number of years ago driving a bus down that it had been, I call them Grand Canyons. and the road is this wide, when you take the dirt out of them and you make them this wide. With a pumper truck out of Steamboat, we were meeting one of the fire trucks coming out, and if you don't pull over and stop. And when I'm driving the school bus from here to Wawasa to New Providence and back, like I'm going somewhere every morning, which fortunately I don't do yet every morning, and the road is this wide. I've wondered why, now I know. Thank you, Taylor, for this presentation. I needed to see this. You're being told this is what we do, and I'm here, and a couple of weeks ago, I made a comment defending you on the cost of gravel and the cost of that grader and everything else is going up. We can have the road and the grader and the rock, and we're gonna have to pay for it. So I'm between the rock and the hard place, literally, and I've grown up on gravel roads my whole life. And the problem is I grew up in Scott County where we had the best rock in the world coming out of Buffalo that had enough fines in it, it turned into concrete, and we had a road. You know, up here we've got gravel from here and gravel from there, and I understand that. So I'm just saying I'm in the middle, but again, as a bus driver and first responder now, taking a pumper with how many 100 pounds of water in, you gotta be careful. Even our ambulance rig is a heavy rig. You gotta be darn careful where you go around the corner, how close to the ditch you get. And if you come over the hill and all of a sudden, oh crap, there's a fire truck on this way, and I'm trying to go down this. I don't know, I'll defend you and everything, but again, if we don't have it. How many millions of dollars to do it, just to meet that 20-foot code? Let alone that road, 290 and 300, I've driven those with a bus, those are the best roads in the county.
Very wide.
They're wide, but the edge may not be what you want. So
Back when we had money, we planned on paving those roads, but
Yeah.
that was before I was born, so it's been a hot minute.
No. Again, we as taxpayers, property owners need to understand that when we're driving the road, be ready to pull over and stop. And I know the owner of that truck too. Thank you all.
Did you know what is the name of my department?
Secondary roads.
Secondary, right there. Yep. We have a primary road system. They get 50% of the money. For 10% of the roads. That's the way it works.
I'm dying to see them.
Any other public comments? Nope.
I had one other business. Donna,
What?
I want to do a courtesy. I heard there is a new motion picture coming out.
I don't care. They
And
did
I,
not talk to me.
right, I want,
This is my home, not a tourist
Right.
trap. BJ, you know that. Do not go there.
all I'm asking is people, please, it's gonna come to the top. Please respect Bob and Donna's property.
Oh, you mean like those people in the ATV that came halfway
I don't-
up our driveway in spite of the fact there's no trespassing signs and decided to use my front lawn to turn around yesterday?
I don't know anything.
Don't go there.
Okay, all I'm asking is, it's going to come full circle, so please, Elaine. Please let people know that this is their home.
This is our home,
Correct.
not a tourist.
I'm
trap.
trying to
Never
do,
has been.
I'm trying to do a public service here, Donna, so that's all I had.
All right, from there I can ask for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're adjourned.